On today's episode of the Ango Show, we're talking about Netflix getting a new WWE show, also WWE NXT Departure, and yes, we are going to talk about a major WWE announcement right here on TAS. All right, guys, I want to kick things off with WWE on Netflix. If you guys didn't know, Netflix dropped a video today. It's a new commercial for everything to expect on Netflix going into next year. And if you missed it, there is a little teaser of a new show being added to Netflix, which appears to be a behind-the-scenes show for WWE. Now, as you guys know, WWE has done some behind-the-scenes shows in the past. One of my favorites was WWE 24, but we haven't seen it in a while. And obviously, Netflix has a new approach with everything they're doing. They are fully behind the WWE, and it looks like WWE is fully behind Netflix. So obviously, the concept of a behind-the-scenes show with Netflix is really cool. My real question here is whether or not Netflix will be producing the show, or if WWE will be producing the show, or maybe if they will work together hand in hand. I don't know if you guys have watched the Jake Paul documentary or the Conor McGregor documentary or the Ronaldo documentary. Like, there's so many different sports documentaries that they've done. They just did one on Aaron Rodgers. And some of this content that they're doing in the world of sports has actually been really cool. Not to mention, Netflix is doing the Christmas Day football games for the NFL. They also just signed a TV deal rights package for the Women's World Cup. I mean, basically everything that is happening with Netflix in 2025 is exactly what I predicted from Netflix 5 years ago. And I'm very happy about that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Now, why is WWE a big deal to Netflix? This is the big question I see often in the comments. Guys, video on demand is really not that profitable. For Netflix, they got to pay a lot of money to get the rights to a lot of this content or to produce this content. When you have live content, there are advertisers that pay more. Now, what's interesting with Netflix is they have recently added the ads in the program for their membership, but you can also have a membership with Netflix where you are completely ad-free. So the idea is if Netflix bolsters their library with more and more content that's valuable, then people will ultimately sign up, and that's how Netflix plans to make money. The reality is, though, a lot of streaming platforms are actually not profitable, or they're not gaining subscribers at the rate that the executives want. So I think for Netflix, it is very clear that they are banking on WWE being a big success for them. Obviously, only time will tell, but I am very intrigued by this. I do look forward to seeing what actually happens, and I really do hope it works out for the best. And really, the main reason why is because the global audience now has one place to go to watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and PLEs. For us in North America, we got to go to Peacock for pay-per-views, USA Network for SmackDown, the CW for NXT, and then Netflix for Raw. But for the global audience, this is a very, very big deal. All right, that brings us to an NXT departure. Guys, you may not know who this is, but this is a very interesting departure, and I think it's very telling about WWE's future. This gentleman right here is Jim Smallman. He was basically part of Progress Wrestling. He was the guy that co-founded Progress Wrestling, and then he eventually joined the WWE as part of the launch for NXT UK. Jim Smallman basically remained with WWE even after the closure of NXT UK. And he actually came out and revealed on social media that yesterday was his last day as part of the NXT creative team, as he resigned from his position as senior writer and producer in order to move back to the UK and be a better dad to his 2 children. This is the end of his NXT tenure. Nobody knows if he's going to be doing anything in wrestling again. Obviously, a lot of things have changed with Progress Wrestling since, the company sold or whatever. But the reason why this is very telling, let's get to that part. NXT UK closed down. WWE pushed this idea of NXT Europe. Nothing has been done since the announcement that they were going to be doing NXT Europe. And now WWE is doing WWE ID, but most of the talent that are getting ID'd are pretty much all talent from North America. So WWE isn't even heavily scouting talent from the UK or the European wrestling scene. So Jim Smallman leaving NXT, I feel like it kind of tells me everything I need to know, because I feel like if NXT Europe was to become a thing and there was an actual plan for it, this would be the guy who would be given the opportunity to go out there and have some sort of major role within the group. And the fact that WWE has not done that, and the fact that he's leaving tells me all we need to know. And it's actually really unfortunate because I was a big fan of NXT UK. I was clearly really behind the idea of them doing NXT Europe. But then TKO came around and those plans have completely changed. And I think what's going to end up happening is that nobody's going to ask about NXT Europe. The companies, the media that goes to these scrums won't ask about it. And unfortunately, I just think it's going to become a dead topic. And that just really makes it disappointing because I feel like there is some really good wrestling out there, and NXT Europe could be a really cool thing. WWE obviously cares more about building Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and I understand that. I could see them building performance centers everywhere. I could see them doing that kind of stuff. But the fact that they won't have a show is very disappointing. And, with WWE having the global television deal with Netflix, I feel like NXT UK would be a massive hit for them. So it's just a really strange situation. Like I said, you might not know who this guy is, but Jim Smallman, definitely an integral part of WWE. Now he's gone from the company. We'll have to see what happens. And best of luck, man. I get it. You want to be with your family. It makes a lot of sense. And if WWE is not doing NXT Europe, I get it. Not to say that they won't launch NXT Europe, and maybe if they do, they could bring them back. But I would like to think that NXT Europe is done. All right, guys, WWE has made a major announcement today, and everybody's going to have mixed feelings on this, but WWE has officially revealed that SmackDown will remain on Friday nights, but it will become a 3-hour show on the USA Network, and it will begin early January. Yeah, this is actually happening, guys. Friday nights from 8 o'clock to 11, Monday nights from 8 o'clock to 11. WWE is doing 3 hours. Listen, let me be very clear here. I think the 3-hour Raws were great, and I like 3-hour Raw. Now you're asking people on Friday nights to sacrifice another hour. I don't like it. I feel like if they were going to do 3 hours of SmackDown, they should have moved the show to Tuesday nights, back to back with Raw. I think it would have made a little bit more sense. At least from my viewing experience, it probably would have been a better experience. But Friday nights are already hard enough, I think, for most people who tend to go out or socialize or whatever it may be. And look, I'm not trying to sound like I'm so cool and I'm so busy, but the reality is, asking me to sacrifice another hour is just a little too much. That's just for my personal taste, honestly. I look forward to seeing how WWE manages 3-hour Raw, 3 hours SmackDown. I expect those NXT call-ups to be happening very soon. WWE, you're adding another hour of television to your one of your flagship shows. So what I say is this: for the love of God, please utilize more talent. There is so much talent that have not been utilized. Utilize them. This is the opportunity to do so. You add an extra hour, we should see some new faces. That's very important. 3 hours for Raw, 3 hours for SmackDown. I don't think we get 3 hours for NXT. But I think it's really important that WWE focuses on talent utilization. That's a very, very, very big goal that they should have. There should be no excuses at this point. They've done a really good job of getting more women on TV. This is an opportunity to get even more women on TV. You know what I'm saying? Like, there can't be any excuses after this. Personally, I'm not a fan of this, but at the same time too, I understand that other people will be a fan of it, and that is completely cool. I think it will get to the point where Friday night SmackDowns, I'll just have to go back and watch Saturday mornings, or at least watch the final hour on Saturday mornings or something like that. But it's official.